into their project. And after we finish with the sessions, we're going to upload it to the website, and we'll make that recording available. We are also compiling a list of commonly asked or frequently asked questions. And so please check the BFFTP website if there's questions that you have pertaining to your project, your application, and maybe someone has already asked those questions, and we will be posting them on the website. So I'll get started. We're going to kind of toggle back and forth with the different sections here of the RFA. I'll go ahead and get started and talk about the purpose of this project. This project is, this grant program, excuse me, is a new grant program at Cdfa. It was funded through the 2021 general fund budget last year, and there's a total of $10 million available through this project. And the first request for applications is for a total of $5 million. So the purpose really for this project is to support organizations to enhance or expand beginning farmer and farm worker training and apprenticeship programs. The overall goal is to really ensure we're dedicating resources to strengthen support for socially disadvantaged beginning farmers in their first 10 years of business, and farm workers who need job skills training to provide job sustainability in the ag industry. A secondary goal is to really try to build and grow regional networks of support to ensure organizations can provide support and training opportunities for those most underserved in the industry. And so we have several priorities through this program. First, our regional collaborative partnerships, so applications that are applications that demonstrate a variety of partnerships. Applications from organizations who serve primarily socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers. And then there are 3 tracks, and the farm worker training and workforce development track is track 3, and that will prioritize programs that consider unique and cultural and language needs of the farm worker community and who are in regions with higher numbers of farm workers. I'll turn it over to Carmen to discuss the funding and duration for this project, for this grant program.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm just gonna go through the funding and duration. I hope that you all have had a chance to review the RFA, but if not, after the session or anytime before the application ending period, which is going to be August 1st. There's $5 million available for this first round of funding for all 3 program tracks. We have there's 3 tracks. The first track is for planning and development projects for both beginning farmer programs and farm worker training programs. And the other track 2 is for beginning farmer implementation programs. Track 3 for beginning farmer implementation programs. For track 1, we have the minimum award of $50,000 to up to $100,000 for a maximum grant term of 1 year. And for the program implementation grants, which are tracks 1, 2, and 3, we have for the beginning farmers $100,000 minimum up to $1 million maximum grant awards for both tracks, and the maximum grant term is for 2 years. If you look at the RFA, we have a table there under the funding and duration section, which is going to include additional funding details. This is a reimbursement grant program, which means that the project, once your project is approved, you need to submit monthly or quarterly invoices to Cdfa and be reimbursed within 45 days after the invoices have been approved. There is also the possibility of advance payments for organizations that are requested and they follow the regulations. There's a link in the RFA as well to learn more about those regulations for the advance payments. There are no matching funds required for this grant program. Cdfa will fund up to 100% of the total project costs. We also have a special section for allowable and unallowable costs in addition to the Cdfa grants program manual that you can review, and we have links for those in the RFA. And we also have an Appendix B section, which includes 3 other allowable cost categories that are usually not part of grant programs, including it's up to 75% of required grant funds to cover the cost of land access, land purchase for the implementation grant programs. And also equipment purchases such as tractors for the beginning farmer training programs. And so those are part of, if you look at Appendix B, you're gonna see that sort of equipment and other capital expenses such as tools for a tool lending library. So those are the eligibility requirements. And Thea is gonna talk a little bit about the expand more on the funding tracks, 1, 2, and 3. So I will, Thea, you can take over the.
Thank you. And everyone, you're still able to hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Great. So the first track is a little bit different in that in this track, these are 1-year projects, and this is really to help serve those organizations or partnerships that are not yet off the ground and that really need to have some support during for a 1-year period of time to be able to fully develop their programs that are serving beginning farmers or farm worker training and workforce development. And so these, as Carmen stated up above, these projects have a maximum award of $100,000, and we are, seeking applications from organizations who are wanting to either formalize or expand an existing program or need assistance during like a very beginning phase for program planning and curriculum development. This track also prioritizes programs that are really starting to try to develop local or regional partnerships. So if you're an organization that is really at that beginning point, that really wants to try to either formalize or create this program, this is the track for you. And there's a special set of questions for this track in the application under Amplifund. Now, track 2 and track 3 are for implementation projects. So if you're an organization that is, looking to expand or really continue the work that you're already doing to serve beginning farmers, then this track 2 would be for your application. And this would be for things like Carmen mentioned before, allowable costs, infrastructure, tool lending libraries, land tenure, regional networking opportunities, apprenticeships, and curriculum development. So again, as with all of our categories and tracks, priority is given to organizations serving socially disadvantaged and small-scale farmers and ranchers. And also applications with demonstrated partnerships and the ability to continue the program beyond the funding period. As at this time, after a second round of funding, we are unsure if we will have funding beyond that point. Track 3 here is our farm worker program implementation. So farm worker training and workforce development program. This track is specifically for eligible entities to apply for funds to support the development of farm worker training and workforce development. These, similar to track 2, can apply for an amount up to $1 million. These are also 2-year projects, so it's $1 million total for a 2-year project period. And within this track 3, there are several priorities. Regional collaborations that focus on job skills training within the ag sector, paid apprenticeships, education, ag tech training for farm workers that aren't currently eligible for Federal Department of Labor, and programs funded under Section 167 of the Workforce Investment Act. That's a federal program, and the National Farm Worker Jobs Program, also federal. So really, we're looking to expand the current federal opportunities here, so organizations who are already receiving that funding can apply for track 3 and focus their training on individuals who aren't eligible under the federal law, and additionally for workforce development within the ag industry. So really focusing on job skills training necessary in the ag industry. And certainly, if you're already receiving funding from federal programs, you would need to demonstrate how this funding would expand to focus on agricultural careers and those not currently served through the federal programs. But it's an opportunity to expand beyond the federal programs currently available. Also, another priority within this section is the farm worker workforce development with curriculum and instruction tailored towards serving unique cultural and language needs in the farm worker agricultural sector, and providing advanced skills training needs to advance to a higher skilled job within the ag sector. And so ag technology, agriculture-centered certification programs, training in IPM or organic management practices, irrigation systems, or industry-specific skills training, such as in vineyard management. There will be a geographical preference for these projects within areas of high concentrations of farm workers, including but not limited to the Central Valley, Coachella Valley, Imperial Valley, Central Coast, and Southern California. Those are broad areas, but we want to make sure that organizations are located and within those general regions. And a secondary priority for track 3 is programs that are targeting job upskilling for agricultural workers who have lost their jobs or are in danger of losing their jobs due to climate change, drought, or other natural disasters. And I will turn it over to Carmen to discuss the review process.
Yeah. Hi, can you hear me okay? Am I unmuted? Yes, I am unmuted. Just really quick, going back to eligibility, I think I didn't touch on that, but if you have had a chance to review the RFA, eligible entities are nonprofit organizations, tribal governments, and community colleges. Community colleges are eligible as co-applicants with a local partner organization. Cdfa is using a new platform for this grant program, which is called Amplifund. We had a training session on Monday. We're going to have the recording on the website, on the program website soon, as well as this one. But if you have any questions on how to set up an account with Amplifund, please watch that training session. And it's a pretty simple application process. Hopefully, some of you have had a chance to go on the platform and view the application. We also have a link to the application questions on the RFA. So in case you want to view the questions before setting up an account through Amplifund. And I just want to mention the review process. We are in the process of setting up a technical review committee to assist with the reviewing of the applications. There's also a scoring table, a scoring rubric that we are going to be following to assign points to each of the sections in the application. There's a total of 100 points for all sections. And some of the sections are not scored, such as eligibility and funding track and grant funds requested. But the other sections do have a score. The highest the section with the highest score is the community need, which each project needs to explain. There's also project narrative and timeline requirement, project summary, project evaluation, budget and budget narrative, which is really important, and then a sustainability plan, and the project partnerships and commitments. The narrative, we have, or for the budget, we have included all the different categories that this grant program is going to fund. Just wanted to say that if you haven't had a chance to look at the budget template within the AmpliFund application, there's a section for each cost category, and you just need to include a line item for within each category. For instance, if you have different staff under personnel or salary and wages, you have to include a description for that person for that position, and a short narrative of what that person is going to be doing, including the time commitment that is going to be spent on working on this program. I think that Pia, do you want to talk about the recipient information and reporting?
Yes, I can take the next section, which basically for this piece, we just wanted to go over what to expect, kind of like a next step in terms of, especially if you haven't applied for state government or Cdfa funding before. And this is all again in the RFA, and basically once your application is accepted for funding, we'll have to create and sign a grant agreement. And the first step in that will be required to fill out a Form 20, STD Form 204, and that really sets up your supplier ID. That means that you'll be able to accept payments, or Cdfa will be able to issue payments. This document is now able to be signed electronically or printed and scanned and sent back via email, but we've included ways in which you can sign it electronically. And then you will have a grant agreement package. Now, this whole process does take some time. So while we try to make things as efficient as possible and cut down the time with which it takes to be able to have a fully executed agreement so you can get started on your work, it can take up to 90 or 120 days. However, with some of the steps we've been taking to ensure that some of the forms are able to be signed electronically, and other efficiencies, we try to get these grant agreements signed and out the door as quickly as possible so that you can get started on your work. And once you have that executed grant agreement, you can begin implementation of your project. And of course, your grant recipients are responsible for overall management of the awarded project to ensure that all the project activities are completed by the end. I wanted to mention payment process because this often comes up, and particularly if you haven't applied for state funds before, this might be a question that you have. Our grants are reimbursement grants, and you can provide invoices up to as frequently as monthly or quarterly, whatever works for your paperwork. There is advance payments are eligible for this grant program. So if you're an organization who, for example, is hiring staff to be able to complete activities related to this grant, or is particularly for track 1 projects where maybe you're scaling up or you're hiring someone for the first time, we can do an advance payment, which means we can pay you a percentage, before you've completed the activity, and so that is a process that is included with this program for your awareness. And as Carmen mentioned, we're accepting a payment indirect cost of up to 30% for this program. And just also in terms of timeline, even regardless of whether you're doing a reimbursement or an advance payment, it does still take some time. So it can take up to 4 weeks to process. So if you're hiring staff, just build that into your timeline to make sure you have the funding available. In terms of reporting, once you're awarded funding, you can submit monthly or quarterly invoices, whatever is your preference. We will have quarterly reports and networking calls with this project, again, to try to serve that goal that we're seeking to build partnerships and networking opportunities, so that all of the grantees that are awarded funding within this program aren't just doing this work in isolation, that you have opportunities to hear what other awardees are doing, to hear what, what's working, opportunities to meet other people, et cetera. So we're just for your awareness, we're building that into this program as well. And then we'll have a final report as well at the end of the 2-year session. And then there will be another solicitation for projects in the following year. So there will be an opportunity, particularly if you're applying for track 1 and you're at the point where you'd be able to expand your program and apply for a track 2 position. We're hoping to build that into our second RFA. So the final 2 sections of the RFA include the information about additional webinars. So today is our first session to talk about the program and answer questions. We'll have an additional session also via Zoom the week after next, so June 29th at 1 o'clock. All of that information is both in the RFA and also on the website. You can register for that as well. There are other CDFA grant programs that are included in the RFA, and one in particular that we've had quite a few questions on, and we know there's a lot of overlapping interest in applying for both an upcoming urban agriculture grant program and this program. So I just wanted to bring that other program back into everyone's awareness that we will have an additional urban agriculture grant program coming up that will also be targeting urban agriculture entities and for-profit organizations as well. And those are the final things that I have for that section. Carmen, did you have anything else you wanted to mention on the RFA or the budget?
No, I don't have any more to add. I think we started getting some questions in the chat, so maybe we can get started with those.
That sounds great.
Okay.
Okay.
So Sarah had a question regarding the geographical priority areas, and the geographic area is going to be a consideration for all projects. We do not have points assigned for geographic area, but it's part of the overall scoring category for community need, and in particular for track 3 programs. But there are no points will be deducted if, of course, this is a statewide program, so projects in all parts of the state qualify for the grants. And then Elizabeth had a question about the action, if there's a budget template. There's no separate budget template. The budget template is built within the Ampli Fund application. We do have before you get to the budget template, you're going to see a budget section where we included instructions on how to build up the budget template and the categories. And then once you get to the budget template, you're going to see that it's going to ask you to build each or line items within each cost category.
Carmen, did you want to share what that looks like, a picture of that budget, how it looks in Amplify?
I think I have something to share. Let me find it.
If you haven't yet signed up for an account with Amplifund or gone in to look at the sections, we can show you what that budget template looks like once you get in there. But it's a standard budget template, and you'll be adding different categories within just directly into the Amplifund program.
Can you see my screen? Yeah, everybody?
Yes.
Okay, so these are the different categories within the budget template in Amplifund. So, you know, we have up to age, and there's a short description of each category. But if you go to the previous section where where we included a budget narrative, you can read more on each of these categories. This is just a summary of for each category. So that's what this looks like in Amplifund. Elizabeth, you looked at in Amplifund. There's no actual budget template that you can view. You get to the template once you start filling out the application, and then once you get to the last question of the application that talks about, or that asks about project partnerships, then the next section, or the next, you know, once you hit continue, the continue button, and your application is saved, then you get to the budget template. And there are some features on Amplifund. You can download your application and save it. I'm not sure if I believe that once you start completing, you can save the application and view it. But I don't think you can get to the budget template. So, but we have the categories, and if you have any questions on any of those categories, I can we can help you out with those. Or if you want to see sort of a template of the budget, you can try and get the Amplifund people to. I can ask them and see if they can. There's any way they can create a PDF for the document.
Thanks, Carmen. I think if for technical questions like this, I think if you want to email Carmen, and we'll put her email in the chat, and we'll put you in touch with the person, with the Amplifund tech staff. So there's definitely people that you can talk to at Amplifund if you'd like to ask questions, and we're happy to put you in touch with them to answer those types of questions. And they're available at all times during the application process, up until the point you submit your application. At this time, if anyone has a question, feel free to raise your hand and come off of mute to ask your question, or put your question in the chat, and we're happy to do our best to answer them. Please note that if we aren't able to answer your question today, we will respond to you via email or follow up and post the answer to your question on the frequently asked questions part of our web page. And additionally, we will make sure to address it during our next session on the 29th. But hopefully we'll be able to answer all of your questions today if you have any.
I see Molly Taylor has their hand raised, and Elisa Flores, and there's also another question in the chat via Can we go with Molly first? I'm sorry, I missed, I'm not sure who was first, but Molly, can you go ahead and ask your question?
Yeah, I was just curious if if Cdfa has thought through eligibility or the definition rather of beginning farmers, because the project that I'm considering would include shepherds, the training of shepherds, but the primary role of these shepherds is sometimes to be with sheep on contracts that are for fire fuel mitigation. I'm just wondering if Cdfa has thought about whether or not they considered those types of shepherds farmers.
Yeah, yes, Molly, that's a great question. You know, certainly livestock is also a part of farming, and so farming and ranching. So certainly livestock and activities related to livestock production is an approved and eligible entity.
Okay, so even if the livestock are being used for fuel, fire fuel load purposes, that's not a that would not be a reason to disqualify a shepherd as a farmer.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Alisa, go ahead, please.
Hi, yes. My question is kind of similar to the one in the chat from Emma. I know you listed the eligible groups. Now, are resource conservation districts eligible? And if not, is there a possibility for collaboration with eligible organizations?
RCDs are eligible. They're nonprofit organizations. When we say eligibility, we are mainly talking about the lead organization. So for instance, we had a question about a for-profit training program, or we had a question about for farm workers, for instance, where the lead organization is going to be a nonprofit, but you're going to be working with local businesses that do provide training for farm workers, for instance. That would be an eligible project. And so, so the lead organization needs to be a nonprofit, a tribal government, or a community college in partnership with a nonprofit on the ground. And RCDs, again, if they're nonprofit, they are eligible.
Okay, thank you.
There's another question in the chat for, I can't see, track 3, the term farm worker. Include the owner of a farm, and if the farm is very small, it's a very small farm. For example, a farm with no employees or only a small number of employees. If they're doing the farm labor themselves, yes, they can be considered the farm worker and farm owner. But again, this program is for training of those communities. So a farm owner would not be eligible to apply for this grant program, but maybe in collaboration with a local organization that qualifies under an eligible entity, yes, that could be allowed. That was Ivy North's question. We have another question, Pia, from Robert Lincoln. He's asking, since drought and food security are big issues, what models of collaboration from your experience offer the best prospect for funding under track 2?
Thanks, Robert. That's a great question. You know, we tried to build in flexibility within this program to ensure that, you know, that regional or local models of collaboration, you know, different types based on the needs of those regions could be, you know, could be accounted for. So we tried not to be too prescriptive in this regard with this, with the types of collaborations, because we know that drought impacts and climate change impacts and a lot of other considerations might look really different depending on the region and the crops and the target, you know, beginning farmer or farmer group. So there isn't a certain type of collaboration that we're recommending. We purposefully wanted to, you know, or allow for space within the application for applicants to demonstrate or describe those types of partnerships and which groups are, you know, the best groups to be applying together. Great question, thanks.
We know it's still early into the application period, so as you start filling out the application and you get more questions, please feel free to reach out. I have included our both of our email addresses in the chat, and we are available to answer any specific questions that you have on your particular program. The application, Jessica has a question. The application asks how many beginning farmers will be reached. Is this applicable to track 1, since we will be focused on curriculum development, not implementation? Are we talking outreach, numbers of farmers engaged in advisory capacity? For the curriculum development, yes, that can be counted for that purpose. Or do we just put 0? You can put 0 for that question under the number of beginning farmers and farm workers reached, especially for track 1 planning and implementation. There's no expectation for you to have numbers for both of those priority groups. Those questions relate more to tracks 2 and 3. Of course, for track 2, it's going to be beginning farmers, and farm workers can be included if the project plans to engage that community into the program, but it's not a requirement. It's only for tracks 2, beginning farmers, and for track 3 will be the opposite, will be engagement with the farm workers for the implementation programs. But again, for track 1, you can put 0 if you're just going to be in the planning phase curriculum. But if you do happen to do, you know, outreach sessions or listening sessions, or needs assessment for with any of those groups as part of your planning project, you can include numbers there. And Emma, you have your hand raised. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up on the question about eligibility. In this particular case of a project that's interested in applying, there's a nonprofit organization that's pretty new that would probably best fit under track 1. But they are really they really would like to secure land to be able to really start their program, and they'd like to partner with the university, and who's not eligible. Do you think that that would work for a bit more beginning organization to be the lead organization and then in a collaboration with the university who has more experience doing the kind of training that they will be doing once they get land. Does that make any sense? Yeah,
it does, Emma. Thank you. I think that's a great question, and I think, you know, we really tried to emphasize partnerships, you know, for that very reason, to be able to ensure that a beginning organization or a new organization that's trying to build capacity or get something off the ground, that they have a partnership like with a university or other supporting organizations would be a strong proposal, in order to make sure that they have the resources and the assistance to be able to, you know, create some curriculum, get a program running and off the ground.
okay, great, thank you.
Jessica, is it Jessica? Yes, Jessica. Yes, to answer your question, for track 1 projects, evaluation, data gathering and evaluation is not required, since they are, these projects are going to be in the development and planning phase. So this applies to track 2 and 3 projects. If you go, once you go into the application, you're gonna get to some, depending on what track you choose at the beginning, then some of the questions are required for the track that you are requesting funding for. So, but if you're looking at the entire application, there wasn't any way for us to, you know, to do 3 separate applications and the questions, required questions for each track. So that's why you may be seeing all the questions for the same section, but they do not necessarily apply to your track. And you're gonna see that because they're not gonna come up for track 1, for instance. The evaluation is not gonna be a required field, which are marked with an asterisk. Thank you. Yes, you can just say not applicable if you get to that field, but you shouldn't be getting that that question.
Daniel, you've got your hand up, and then Ivy.
Yeah, I had you had mentioned the new urban farm grant that hasn't been released yet. So I'm wondering if, since from my organization is going to be supporting beginning urban farmers, but we would still develop the curriculum in track 1 that would support the urban farmers, but that is the demographic rather than sort of large scale or commercial farms. Since land is so expensive out in California, it's definitely the biggest barrier.
Thanks, Daniel. So your question is, which would be the better fit potentially?
That or yes, and then I guess a more succinct way is would a focus on urban farmers conflict with this grant as a curriculum focus?
Not at all, Daniel. Certainly our urban entities are eligible as well. I think that the urban grant agriculture program might provide more specific focus on urban ag programs. That program hasn't been developed yet. So it would be up to you to, you know, certainly we will also have opportunities for input on the design of that program. So it may be that if you feel that's a better fit and you want to provide input, make sure we, if we don't already have your contact information, make sure we get that so that when we do the outreach on that program, that we can make sure to hear your thoughts and your organization's thoughts on priorities for that program. And certainly that will be tailored specifically for urban groups.
Great, thank you.
Ivy, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you. I have 2 quick questions, if that's going to be all right. The first one is, we are located outside of the prioritized regions specified in here. And my question is about the scoring rubric. I would imagine that the grant applications will be selected by in the order of the highest scores, but I wonder if there is any room for a program. Our program, I imagine, is going to have a lower ask than many others, and because we are in a more rural, smaller region. Do you think that that gives us any sort of hope, I will say, to potentially being selected, even though we will probably get a lower score on the rubric that includes the specified regions?
Thanks, Ivy. Well, as Carmen said before, the prioritization of regions isn't the main scoring field. When we're scoring applications, it's looking at the whole picture of all of the sections put together. So I would say, please don't feel discouraged to apply because you're serving a small rural area. And we're looking at the whole picture of all applications as they're submitted.
Okay, thank you for that. That's good clarification, and that is encouraging. And my other question is, in our area, as in many, land access and affordability is a major issue, and we are hoping to be starting a land matching program similar to what California Farm Link does, but on a more local and personal level, doing outreach to landowners and connecting them with small farmers looking to lease very small plots of land and helping with the lease agreements and whatnot. Can you see any space in this RFA that might allow for a program or subprogram of that kind? Or does that sound too outside of the scope?
By any means, I think we all know that land access is the most, or one of the most, the largest barriers facing many beginning and socially disadvantaged farmers and ranchers. So I don't think that's beyond the scope of this or outside the box. I think it makes a lot of sense. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
There's another question in the chat here about leasing facilities under track 2 projects. Is there a provision in track 2 for leasing facilities and acquiring equipment to manufacture mobile climate controlled food security units and training manual and curriculum for entry-level farmers and trainers of interns? Is that like hydroponic? Is that I'm not familiar with the climate controlled units.
Well, just to answer the question generally, Robert, food security equipment is covered.
Right.
Training and curriculum is definitely covered. I think we would have to see the connection and the need of these units for accomplishing the goals of the program.
Okay, thank you.
Ivy, did you have another question? Oh, thank you.
No, I did not. Sorry.
I saw your hand raised. I wasn't sure. Okay, thank you.
Question about letters of support. We have up to 3 letters of support. You can choose whomever you'd like to submit a letter of support. I think a mixture of both either consultants or partners, but also external partnerships would be ideal.
Yes, Leah, I do have a question.
Who is it? Who is this?
Can you hear me?
Yes, who's speaking, please?
Hello? Yeah,
All right,
this
go ahead. It's from Roger Brown.
right.
Go ahead.
Oh, hi, Roger.
Yeah, because my question, I wanted to hear the, yeah, Roger Brown, yes. Yeah, I just wanted to ask again about, I probably blanked out for some reason. The track 2, what is the max for that, the amount?
$1 million, Roger. Over a 2-year period.
Okay, thank you.
I remember reading something about getting letters of support, not only from partners, but also from stakeholders. Is there supposed to be just 3 total and they can include partners or stakeholders, or is it 3? I was a little unclear about what
It's
the distinction is.
three for your project partners, up to 3 project partners. So those will be more of commitment letters, and then the letters of support you can get from stakeholders that are not necessarily part of the project, actually, but they're just but they can support the community need through a letter of support. So the letters of support will come from external stakeholders, if any, and then if you have those, and then the commitment letters would come from the project partners, up to 3.
So definitely 3 from stakeholders, and if there are partners, then
3 from the partners.
okay.
But yeah, so just saying, they are committing to, of course, things change, but we just want to, make sure that the people that you include in your project, are going, have some sort of a pre-agreement or, pre-commitment to work on this project with you. So up to 3 of, you can get up to 3 partners in a project, and then external stakeholders can also support your program by through a letter of support.
Is there a certain number required for
There's no number.
stakeholders?
No, we don't have
Okay.
a
Thank you.
number. Sure. And I just wanted to also say that we just published the application form for external technical reviewers, so people that are not applying to any of the funding tracks that would like to assist Cdfa with the application review process for any of the 3 tracks. We are going to be welcoming those applications from starting today, which is the 15th through the 15th of July. So if you can share that information, it's available on the website, and we are going to be also publishing that information through a press release this week. But I just wanted to let everybody know.
I have a question. Where would this recording be available?
Thanks, Alisa. We're gonna link it to the BFFTP program website, so you can go to Cdfa to the main Cdfa website, and then if you do / BFFTP, that's where you can find all the information about the program, the links to the application, and all the timeline and the recording for this session, as well as the one from Monday on the technical part for Amplifund. We are getting that video, and we're gonna post those on the website.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it doesn't look like we have any other questions. I encourage all of you again to take another look at your applications and the web page. And we will be having another session, the exact same as this one, on June 29th at the same time, 1 p.m. You can register for that session via Zoom. And you can, by all means, feel free to attend again, ask any questions you might have, but also feel free to reach out to Carmen or I if you have questions. We'll put both of our emails there again in the chat, and we're happy to answer questions. We'll get you to the right people to talk to if you're having problems with Amplifund. This is a new program we're using at Cdfa, so we anticipate there's going to be questions. We're happy to get you the technical assistance you need for any questions that you might have related to that. And again, we'll post this recording and other question and answers of frequently asked questions that we've been getting on that same webpage. So feel free to just keep checking back in there to see if there's any new or updated information. Any last questions, comments, anything else anyone would like to add today?
Thank you so much for the information.
Thank you. Okay, have a great afternoon, everyone. We'll talk to you again, perhaps. Good luck with your applications. Reach out if you have any questions.
Thank you all. I'm going to stop the recording now.